stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, 8:30 Lincoln County Commission meeting. First item of business is board action to approve the agenda. Is there any public input on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll ask for input from the commissioners.
Approve Otten.
Second, Putnam.
Motion and second. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes. Okay, let's move on to board action to approve consent agenda items. Does anybody from the public have input on this? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for input from the commissioners.
Otten, approve.
Putnam, second.
Got a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes. All right. We'll move on to regular business. Item number 1, Mr. Floyd.
Morning, Commissioners. Terry Floyd, Highway Superintendent.
Good morning.
First item I have for you is board action to award our bids for concrete products. And that's going to be concrete pipe and box culverts, precast box culverts, to Semcast and precast, and to Old Castle Infrastructure. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be awarding both bids in part and rejecting both bids in part. We're going to be accepting the low bids for each of the items on both of the bids, and we'll be rejecting the high bid items. So,
Is there any public input? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Terry?
No, I'm just assuming he's taking care of business properly.
yes,
So there you are.
yep.
Yep.
All right. I don't have the bid package in front of me. Is that up on the screen there, Terry?
Just right.
I hit the wrong button on the computer screen when I was futzing around with it here just now.
So here's all your products. This is the one bid.
There we go.
That's from Semcast. And then the second one right here is from Old Castle Infrastructure right here. And these are their products. So, again, they duplicate. Most of these products are duplicate. But if you go back through each one, set them side by side, one item might be cheaper under this vendor, and then the other item might be cheaper under this vendor. So it's just, we award the low bids, the low bid for each item to those vendors. So, because we don't know at the time which ones we're going to be purchasing this year. So,
Yeah, and
You're talking about each line item.
correct. We're awarding the low bid to each line item,
Okay.
whichever vendor it's for.
Yeah.
okay, commissioners, do you have any further questions for Terry? If not, I'll entertain action on the motion.
I'm good.
Second. Otten.
Got a motion and second to award the bid for concrete products in part and to deny part of it. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten?
Yes.
Putnam?
Yes.
Aaron's?
Yes.
All right, next item I have is board action to authorize the chair to execute a contract with Kramer and Associates Incorporated for the 2025 bridge preservation projects. Again, these are, we were awarded the bid February 25th here. And this is going to be for preservation project for 3 structures that we're doing. I believe the bid was like $3.2 million total for all 3 of them. I believe. So basically, this is a contract to get this project moving, so.
Is there any public input on the agenda item? Seeing none, commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Terry? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain action on the agenda item.
Yep.
Second. Otten.
Got a motion and second to authorize chair to execute a contract with Kramer and Associates for 2025 bridge preservation projects. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
Next item I have for you is board action to award a bid and authorize the chair to execute an agreement with Sir Lines-A-Lot for the 2025 Lincoln County striping project in the amount of $146,502.25. We went to bid, so this is the project that we collab with, I think there was 13, 16 other counties in the southeast, kind of in the southern part of the state over here for doing striping. Basically, it's a retrace on any of the roads we do for the stripes. There were two bidders on this, and then Sir Lines-A-Lot was the low bid, so.
Quite the name for the company.
I was going to say.
So this is formerly DTS, Dakota Traffic Services, so,
Not nearly as
yeah.
well.
Is there any public input on the agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Terry?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll entertain action on the agenda item.
Approve Otten.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on board action to award a bid and authorize chair to execute an agreement with Sir Lines-A-Lot for the 2025 Lincoln County striping project in the amount of $146,502.25. Clerk will call a roll.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
All right, next item I have, board action to authorize the highway superintendent to sign an agreement with IMEG for construction administration cost for the 2025 micro surface project in the amount of $15,000. So basically, this is an agreement that we go into them to do the construction administration costs. They're overseeing the project, doing testing on the materials and everything, so to ensure it's done properly, so.
Is there any public input on the agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Terry? Seeing none, I'll entertain action on the agenda item.
I approve.
Second Otten.
Got a motion and second for board action to authorize the highway superintendent to sign an agreement with IMEG for construction administration costs for the 2025 microsurfacing project in the amount of $15,000. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
All right. Next item I have is board action to authorize the highway superintendent to sign agreements with IMEG for construction administration costs for the 2025 bridge preservation projects for PCN 09M0, which is 42020-201 in the amount of $99,723.75. For PCN 09M1, which is 24244-255 in the amount of $131,876.42. And for PCN 09RC, which is 153 in the amount of $79,014.29. Again, these agreements, basically for them to do construction administration oversight when these projects are happening. And these are for the preservation projects, as it says. We have 3 bridges that they'll be doing, so.
Is there any public input on the agenda item? Seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments for Terry?
Question being, exactly what is, just, you paying them to oversee the project?
Correct. They have to make sure that the contractor is doing the work according to what the plans say, because we have plans for these. So basically, they're having oversight to ensure that the project is being completed as it was designed.
That's interesting.
Most of these costs, we will get some reimbursement on this because these are under big grants that we have through the state. So there will be some reimbursement on these costs as well. We can submit for construction administration reimbursement, but that is not part of the bridge improvement grant application or the grant amount that we got. So that's on top of that, so.
Well, I think here's the other issue, Terry, and correct me if I'm wrong. We don't have a county engineer or construction manager. So, maybe you could just help the new commissioners or the public understand, what does IMEG do for these dollars?
So on any of our projects that we have done, that we have IMEG do, that we go out to bid typically for, they will be in there. And again, they're ensuring that everything is being done properly. They test materials if there's material testing that needs to be done. They're out there on site. If the contractor's on site, typically they're on site. And again, making sure that they're getting the work done and we're getting what we're paying for getting done. It's part of the contract. So, and like Commissioner Aaron said, we do not have an engineer on staff, so typically all these costs we have to hire out to our consultants, so.
Any other questions or comments for Terry on the agenda item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for asking that question.
Hearing no further questions or comments, I'll entertain action on the agenda item.
I approve.
Second, Otten.
Got a motion and second to authorize the highway superintendent to sign agreements with IMEG for construction administration projects for the 2025 bridge preservation projects. Various projects in various amounts listed on the agenda. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Otten,
Yes.
Putnam,
Yes.
Aaron's.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Have a good day. Next agenda item, we've got a presentation from John Peters, who is Director of Geographic Information Systems Department. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
It's a beautiful spring day, maybe?
Well, it'll
Till later.
be winter here at about 2 o'clock again, right?
Yep. So I'm John Peters. I'm the Director of Geographic Information Services, or the GIS office, often called GSI or GPS, but incorrectly. Keyboard, no keyboard. Next slide. Oh, use the mouse. There we go. Okay. GIS function. We maintain and develop the county digital mapping data. That's towns, parcels, addresses, annexations, roads, voting districts, soils. We have over 300 data sets in the GIS office. We started out with a few in 2002. That's when the office was created. We do also develop now, we did a lot of paper maps. Now we develop digital mapping applications. The one that is the main go-to is the Parcel Browser. You can get that on our website. Those assist the offices with administration and inform the public. They're well used. We've had a couple of times where we had some issues with it, and we found out how important they are, in that we get a lot of calls that they're being used. In fact, we get 10,000 hits a month. That's 350 a day. We have both digital data and we have services, the maps, applications, and we have services. So the services are what the applications run on. We get 30,000 hits a month on those. That's where people go in and use the data without using the map itself, say the Parcel Browser. It's the data that's on our server. I'm going to go a little bit deep on what we do. So in that sense, we have to coordinate with IT for secure use of their system. Jake has worked with us very closely, and especially lately with a lot of the things that we're doing to have our servers set up correctly, and all of the softwares and things that we have to work through in order to make those applications for the public and for our offices. And then there's coordination with the departments. I've pretty much wore a track in the rug over to Toby's office in P&Z, going back and forth. What does he need? What does he want to see in the map? That type of thing. DOE is across the hall. That's equalization. They come over often, and they have some special apps that they use that they asked for. The services that we do provide now, we have the Parcel Browser. That's a public and a sales map that's online. We have some special use apps. We have an appeals locator that's live now that allows you to go to your property and click on a link, and it will bring you to a process with your township representative and all of the information and forms that you need to go through. We also made, a couple of years ago, we made a city annexation map maker. This is provided to the cities so that they can make a map that goes with their annexation that's suitable for recordation in the Register of Deeds office in black and white. Aerial photographs turn all black. So we made this application so that they could use the same, similar to the parcel browser, setup and draw shape on there and label it and label the map, and that then accompanies their resolution to the Register of Deeds. It cleared up a lot of things, made it a lot easier for us to know where that annexation was at versus a big black glob. We have some internal apps, a sales, we have another sales app specifically for equalization so that they can get more information than when the public map shows. And so we made that special, and that's only available to them internally. We also do some soil splits. Used to use a book, a USGS book, that had all the soils in it. And there was a plastic sheet that had dots on it, and you would lay that on the parcel. And there was no parcels in this book. And you would count the dots for how many acres were in that area of soils. Now, we do that in GIS, and we get it down to 5 decimal places. So it's come a long ways. Voter splits, we have a voter splits. It's used in the auditor's office. I think what it's related to is the voting cards that they have to print out. It splits up all the legislative commissioner and all the different districts and gives it a number. And then that generates then what the ballots contain, helps them out.
And we have split precincts too.
And precinct,
Yeah, there's certain precincts that cross over into commissioner districts
exactly.
that don't correspond with each other, so that's
Yeah.
one of the other reasons why.
It was quite complex to put that together, and it's something that whenever we get annexation, that has to be either given a new number or given a number that already exists, a combination of districts. I'm glad for that clarification, Joel. School districts, we have that for equalization, so they can look at that and see when we do plating, that we don't cross school districts. We had a few of those a while back and developed that. There's been a GIS rectification application that's for when we do parcels. And we need more information to coordinate. We reconcile the acres. We have GIS acres, we have platted acres. Sometimes they're not the same. Sometimes things aren't drawn correctly. We find those as we go forward, editing in that, and we fix them as we go. REST services, this is what I was talking about. Behind all of these applications is a REST service. We have a program called Beacon used in equalization. They consume a REST service, which has the layers and symbologies and all of that in it. And then that is in their software and available then to the equalization office. In planning, we have an Energev application or a vendor, which we also provide that REST service for their system. So that records all of their building permits, all their zoning permits, all of that. There's also a map in there, and that's, again, our REST service is serving that. Highway also has a vendor. Sioux Falls, Harrisburg, Lennox, they all use the service. Sioux Falls uses our data. Our data is connected to the equalization or the county's database, and so that way they are able to access it through a mapping application, through GIS. Pictometry, aerial photography, they have a Connect program in equalization, and that also will use a service. Right now, we have to update that monthly. We don't have a lot of control over that, and plus it's not dynamic. And we're going to a new system this year that will allow them to use a service, and it will be dynamic data then. So those are data updates, again, pictometry, Energov, 911 dispatch, we update them monthly. South Dakota Next Gen 911, we've been updating them for 6 years, and we're finally at 99% with that. And One Call gets updates for their system.
Could you tell me exactly what REST services means?
No. It's a REST. I'm just going to explain it kind of in common language, would be that we take a lot of data, we put it together in a group, we serve it out then to online on our server, and that's a REST service. It contains all of those datas and the symbologies and everything else, and then they can just connect to it and use that in their system. So all that data is in that server, and they can use it. Another example is pictometry. We used to get an aerial photograph of the county, and we would put that in our map and serve that out. So now we just consume their service. So we've had aerial photographs since 2015. So 2015, 17, 19, 20, 22, 24, and we'll get 26. We consume their service, and so we just get their aerial in our parcel browser. Each of those are there, and they're serving it out, and so we consume that there, and we get all of the benefits of their high-tech image processing that we don't have to do, because images are huge, and they take a lot of data processing. Since we use it there, we get higher resolution, quicker speeds, that kind of thing. We want
Thank
it, we
you.
want it quick.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're
Yeah, and
welcome.
I think 2 years ago, John, didn't, we purchased, the county purchased the enhanced service where we're able to zoom in
Oh,
even closer, and I think the rationale given for that was like if you're in the county assessor's office, you could use that to see if somebody did an improvement on their deck or
yep.
and for other uses as well. So I don't know if you recall that or not.
That was a widget.
Yeah.
Actually, it's and I'll show that to you later. It's kind of a nice thing where you can click on it and you're in the parcel browser and you zoom into that area and get all of the years of aerials in that also. Very nice. So in '24, we did a lot of things. Of course, we do our regular maintenance, we update things, we make corrections, and we make improvements to the applications. County comprehensive plan maps, requested to have those done so that they would be in-house. So as, we progress and the towns get bigger and maybe there's some changes or something in the comp plan, we have that internal so that we can update the comprehensive plan maps here. Interesting, I was here when we did the first ones in, 2005. Basically just copied them over. This time with the newest comp plan, we reviewed that and we found that some of the maps didn't need to be there. They were just, again, like this presentation, too much information. So last year I did a town and subdivision parcel rectification. That means I took each town and each subdivision in the county and I just focused on it and rectified all those parcels. We went from like a 90% accuracy to about a 98% accuracy on the acres and visual placement of those parcels. We also have been working on a Next Gen 911 project for 6 years. Dave Dixon in our office was the steady on that one. Went back and forth for a long time. It has to correlate with addresses and center lines that the telephone company have. So it's data that we had to get 99% correct. We finally did that this year, last year, end of last year. Now the system can go to GIS, which is less work, less correlation, a more efficient system than using the data. But we had to get all that data correct. And again, it was 6 years. It was really intense. We also last year had, we have softwares and servers and data servers and database servers, and well, they were all on different levels, versions, and it caused some problems. And so we rebuilt our server geodatabase. IT came in, got everything all on the same page, but it required us to go backwards in our software. And so we had to rebuild all of our web maps, all of our services, and all of our applications, which was good. We were kind of anticipating that happening. It wasn't all that hard, but it was a lot of things to do. And we find that all the old deprecated things now, they're just going away. And we're a lot leaner and meaner now, a lot more sleek. So that was a good thing that happened. We were down for one day. And of course, Jake figured it out right away what was going on, got that up. We also initiated a GIS enterprise migration. So that's what we've been working and knowing about this for a couple of years. GIS is going to enterprise. Another word would be cloud. We're going to take our servers and all of the stuff that we have, and we're going to split them up, add some. It's going to make our system run better. It's going to make redundancy in the system and better security. We will become a cloud here. We go out to the cloud and we have a server here, but now we're going to call it a cloud or a portal. So it's really exciting, all the things that we're going through and getting better. In 2004, we had an internal app, and it was you could only use it inside the courthouse. 2010, we served it out to the public, and we've gone through 3 more migrations to new, more secure programming languages and that kind of thing to serve that out. And that was after 24, and now we're into 25. So again, regular maintenance, updates, and improvements. Parcel browser, I mentioned, we're going to go to a Experience Builder. We went through the different versions of, and the new one is called Experience Builder. And so Parcel browser will have to be rebuilt again. We're going to migrate to the Pictometry Cloud Explorer. That's in the Equalization Office. That's the application that we have to update manually, which will go to cloud, and we will be able to have dynamic updates. Whatever we update, it's already updated, because we're working on that, and that working data is out there. So that works really nice. Also in that program, when you zoom around to different aerials, you get gaps, and they fixed that where it's seamless and you just smoothly go through the aerials. And some more innovations in that. So again, migrating the GIS enterprise system and cloud system software, that's going to be IT. That's going to do a lot of that in the back end on the servers and that. We met a couple weeks ago with FEMA. 2 years ago, we got preliminary flood maps. They were going through the process of comments. The northern cities had comments that things weren't current, so FEMA decided to go to 2020 LiDAR data to make it more accurate flood mapping and accommodate all the changes that have happened over time. That's starting up again. The contract lapsed. They had to get a new contractor in. They are starting. That's who we met with 2 weeks ago. Expected to get that 2 years from now, maybe to go effective. This has gone on since 2018, so it's been a long haul. We use the 2018 data that they started with in our system, in the parcel browser, as best available data so that we know where the floodplains are. And we've checked on it for this many years, asking people when they come in for permits if that is the right flood. Is that how it floods on your property? And they've all said, yep, that's it. So we say, yeah, we're using it. And we've had many floods that properties that were required to have flood permits, they would have been flooded, guaranteed. And we raised them up 2 feet above. I'm the floodplain administrator as well since 2008, so I do that, knowing the mapping and that type of thing. I think I was drafted. 26, we're planning regular maintenance, updates, and improvements again. That's the mainstay of the office. Pictometry is going to fly again next year. It's nice to have those every 2 years. Equalization would like it every year, but that's cost prohibitive. Again, we're going to be working on the enterprise system. It's a very new concept. It's a large learning curve. We did contract with a vendor or a consultant that works with our software people that has been doing these migrations with over 70 government agencies in the Midwest. It's not something that's just happening here at Lincoln County. It's everybody has to go through this. So we found out about them. It's the first time Esri, our software provider, ever called us in 23 years and said, hey, what's going on? And then we evolved to getting a consultant to help us, help Jake with his migration, and then to help us with our migration with the application development. So summing it up, GIS tracks the details of the growth and change throughout the county, and we make that information available 24/7 to the county offices, government agencies, businesses, and the public. So we can make better informed decisions, creating an overall efficiency throughout all the county and all the businesses and what everyone does, that when they come in to do something here, they can be briefed ahead of time with what it looks like. Not the end of the presentation. If you'd like, I'm prepared to look at the parcel browser if I'm not taking too much time.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So that link was supposed to bring me to the parcel browser, but it's a PDF now, so. I had 47 slides. I got it down to 11. And I didn't want to overwhelm you, but I do want you to be informed. This is our screen, our disclaimer. The county map is made for reference. It's not based, it's based on survey, but it's not surveyed. And in order for any official documentation or legal representation, you need to go to those sources. We update it daily, we change things, we correct things. You get that at the beginning of the opening up the parcel browser. So at first we have here, this is, I'm going to show you the layers. We have 120 layers in here in 9 groups. This is, can you hit F11? Thank you. I have a screen this large. So, voting. These are the layers and the groups. They can be expanded. You have a voting group which can be turned on. And here are the precincts. And If we turn off the labels in the place, we can go through and turn on the legislative districts, school districts, commissioner districts. There's some road districts in there. And split admin, that complex layer does not show up at this scale. You have to show it down at this scale, and it might not even come in until you get way in. Also have a button on the left to go back to previous views. Highway has bridges. Zoom in, and we have right-of-ways for the county roads. We also show the culverts that cross the road and the culverts along the roads in the highway group. Equalization. Rural service districts, TIF districts, subdivisions are at the wrong scale for that. As you zoom in, different things show up, and sometimes they don't appear until you zoom in closer. New addition to the map we built last year, the PLSS. This is the government lots on every township. 36 sections. The north and east lots are truncated because of the curvature of the earth. And on the north, it's a baseline and it takes out a whole quarter section out of a section. And along the river, we have government lots. The blue is the river, current river. The greenish is the 1897 government lots or river line, which you see is very different nowadays. Equalization uses these acres along the river that are in the original survey. That was a survey in 1897. So those are the only surveyed acres, and that's what they use. But because of accretion and the other one, reliction, those acres have changed. So this was done because there's a lot of confusion. We get new staff, and understanding the whole sections, quarter sections, government lots, and all of that is difficult to visualize. So that's why we put that in there. These, again, that's where I talk about improvements. We work with the departments to find out what they need and put those in there. The airport was also added last year. That's gotten a lot of attention lately. So in the airport, we have the runway approach showing on the ends of the airstrip. Along the sides of it, we have a 7-to-1 slope that buildings cannot be built through. There's easements along the edges in the crosshatched areas. And as we zoom in closer to it, we can see that the leased sites, which were not in there before, with their number, so that our airport super can find out exactly where is that site and what are the leases on it. As we go to the next level of building hangars to the south here, we'll do the same thing and add those in there so that those are easily found and recognized. As we're zoomed in here, I want to click on a parcel, and this is the information that we also get. There's visual in the map, but there's also these data that tell us where we're at, who owns it, values and things like that. Map is just a layer that it needs to be on. It's all the foundation parts of it. Flow lines, we have this that shows us where the water flows. It's part of a larger process. Got that from Aeros Data Center. We also can look at 2-foot contours 4-foot contours are in the south part of the county. We have a flood layer we'll touch briefly on. Crosshatched area is the current floodplain. The pink and light blue is the 2024 preliminary data, which is going to be extended further down the line till it becomes official. They'll make that even more accurate. And then as we go in closer, we have also the original data that isn't a insurance zone, but is the 100-year or 1% chance flood that covers a lot of the county, difficult to administer, but is very useful. In fact, it's critical for us to be able to administer that. Zoning. So this is 9 Mile Creek at the interstate and Highway 110. Arthur Estates is rural residential, commercial, industrial, and then planned development districts in gray. And these layers can all be turned on at the same time and get completely confusing. This is something that we're going through with comp plan and having discussions with the cities. Their jurisdictional areas for subdivision authority, the green being T's area where they have subdivision authority, the orange being Harrisburg's subdivision authority, and the purple Sioux Falls joint subdivision authority. An area here just to show some of the aerial capabilities. It has a base layer that is provided, but we have 2008. I'm going to turn off the labels just for clarity. And so 2008, we didn't have anything. We have some roads and a couple of houses there in 2010. 2015, we started pictometry, higher resolution. They're half developed in Arthur Estates. 2017, we're getting pretty well developed. And I think 2020, we're developed. 2022 was a very high resolution. We had flooding that year, and the plains, we just got a deal, and we got high resolution. So they were in the area, and we said, go ahead, fly it. And so we can see the shingles, bushes, patterns in the concrete and everything. It's very helpful. In fact, I think they can do in some of these, in their program, they use an equalization. They can tell the siding type, roofing type, that kind of thing when they're doing equalization. This is the widget that Joel, you were talking about, where pictometry, we put that in there. And you can zoom in to expand this. And here you can look at that house, zoom it around, and look at the front of the house. And look at the back of the house, side of the house. You can look all the way around it and zoom in, see what's going on. And again, you can select the date here, and you can go clear back to 2015. You can tell what's been built and do from in-house, you can almost do an assessment. North Dakota, I was told, actually flew 3-inch pixels. We have 6, which 3 inches way in there. They did their whole county in it, and it's a huge county. And that's the reason. They've got a lot of oil exploration, and it's a huge county. They can't drive out, so they just got aerials, and they do it all from their office. So it's growing. GIS is growing. It's getting better. Big data, AI, machine learning, all kinds of these things that we're getting that help us to be efficient and to use the more data and make it more user-friendly.
Fascinating, John.
I thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent presentation, and I also think it's for those people who are live streaming us or who want to go back and watch this, it's an excellent presentation for the public.
Yes,
To
yes.
be able to understand where their taxpayer dollars are going, what the capabilities are that we've invested in. And it also helps them to educate others on how this can be used. I mean, for example, I'm involved serve as legal counsel right now in a federal court case where we're tracking real estate across 5 different states. And that's required us to use Parcel Browser in a number of counties across the country. And I can tell you, hands down, that when I've used those different county GIS systems, we stack, our capability here stacks up right at the top. I think one of the counties was Bexar County, Texas. Another was in Alaska. Another was in Oregon. And I can just tell you that the investments that we've made, just as a result of me personally having to use this system, we stack up right at the top of these other systems that I've been personally using as a result of that. And so I think Lincoln County taxpayers are definitely getting their bang for the buck here, and the lion's share of that is thanks to the personal effort that you've put into this, John, and your department. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And there's a whole host of applications and uses that people in the commercial world get out of using GIS. I mean, for example, if you wanted to show your insurance adjuster what your shingles look like before the storm and after, well, all you need to do is log on to your GIS system here that you pay for. But also, I think the other thing I want to thank you for, as well as thank the commission for, is we're in the fastest growing county in the state, and we're in the top 10 fastest growing counties per capita in the nation. And that kind of rapid growth means that you all in your department have had to keep up with that as well. And so thank you for doing that. And it means a lot of work on your part. With that, before I get to the commission, does the public have any input on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, do the commissioners have any questions or
I've got
comments?
a couple.
Yeah.
How many counties in South Dakota have this capability or, have a setup like you are in South Dakota?
There are a lot,
Is
In
it about
most.
every county or?
most. I don't know the numbers, but I do know that District 3 and District 1 do multiple counties. So District 1 are like Seekonk also. They have 10 counties that they serve, and their GIS does each one of the counties in their district. So Yankton, those guys have 10 maps that they maintain for the 10 counties. And up north, they're doing the same thing with 10 counties, that they have 3 guys up there that do those 10 counties. They don't have the growth that we have, they don't have the depth that we have, but they got some nice systems. Like Joel said, we've got a lot of stuff in this. And Minnehaha has one, they're 20 years ahead of us, and Sioux Falls has one. They're probably 30 years ahead of us, or not, 30 years more time developing. Just to answer your question, yes, everyone is going to GIS. This is the future. We're taking all of our data, so each one of these lines or polygons or points has a database connected to it. And that database can be connected to another database. So that's where we have a parcel ID on our parcel data, and we just connect it by parcel ID to our equalization parcel ID, and all of a sudden, all of their data is added to it. And then we serve it out, and here it is. So
So everybody's communicating together all the time.
it's kind of interesting, Doug, because it's like, it's digital. We're communicating in a digital way. It kind of makes communication weird. Texting. Well, this is databasing. And we're not communicating, but we're communicating. It's just kind of a phenomenal thing that's going on nowadays.
Now, you talked about the Aris Data Center. You guys are dealing with them
We
on a regular
don't.
basis?
In 2008, we flew Minnehaha and Lincoln County. And they asked for our data because it's the largest two-county fly at the same time that they'd ever seen. And they wanted to correlate that with their satellite imagery to see how their satellite imagery correlated. They did some processing, sort of what our floodplain does now. They did processing where they rained on it in their model, in their software. And that flowed, and then it got stopped in ponds, and then they took those ponds and they took them out, and that then allowed the flows to work. And that's where we got our ponding. We have a ponding. It shows where the ponding is. Every little pothole, we've got a data there that says it's there.
And that come from the Aris Data Center?
And that came from the they were going to throw it away. Jason over there sent it over. He said, "What is this, John? Can you use this?" I said, "Yeah, that's the worst case scenario for flooding." And then along came in 2020 or 2018, we got this data from FEMA, and we looked at the ponding, we looked at their floodplains, like those line up. And I just laughed almost hysterically. It's like, yeah, you got it right now, because the old floodplain maps are wrong. They go over hills, they go and don't follow streams. But the new data, I'd like to adopt the data they have right now, just because it's better and would avoid some confusion, but.
So they do a good job of communicating with you, or do they kind of hold you up a little bit on national
FEMA?
security? Aris Data Center, it's,
They're contractors, they do satellite, they have really extensive data. We have access to data. Every once in a while, they'll do classify and we'll be able to get land site satellite
Yeah.
stuff. And we don't have time or need for that at this time. As they declassify and get more detailed data and get some of the derivatives to us in a more useful manner, then we can use that. But for now, they're up there at 40,000 feet, doing their stuff. But when we did work with them, they were easy to work with. Yeah, very easy.
Any other questions for
I've got
John?
one more here.
Yes, sir.
Corps of Engineers, you guys deal with them quite frequently or not?
We used to
Used
in
to.
the floodplain permitting. But over time, we've realized that they have their own regulations, and we only utilize them when it becomes necessary, having to do with wetlands. And then with legislation changing nationally, it's really not, it's theirs. So we have to have their okay on certain projects, but less than we have before. Before we were getting used to what their parameters were. Now we just, if we think so, we just have applicants contact them and get okay or not okay. And that's it. That's the extent now.
John, thank you for the presentation today.
You're welcome.
Very comprehensive. And I invite if anybody has any further questions, I'm sure you're willing to meet with them.
Please
So,
do come
thank-
visit the office if you want to see or know anything more. And if you need anything done in GIS, we'll look at it and see if we can do it. So,
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good day, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, next presentation is Human Resources Department, Tracy Humphrey. Good morning, Tracy. How are you?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm doing well, thanks. Again, Tracy Humphrey, your current HR Director. Thanks, Jake, for getting the presentation started. All right, so Human Resources, what are we? To take the name of our department, we are a resource, and I figured it'd be fun to tease out that idea. So we're a resource, first of all, for the county and you commissioners. We recruit is one of our biggest components of our job is we have and I'll say this later as well, we have 180 employees. So there's a lot of recruiting that we are doing, identifying the right people for public service. We also are always identifying areas for improvement. We are one of the sole departments that doesn't have a specific role that we have to fulfill for the public. So our focus is entirely internal and making sure that if there's anything that we can do to improve our processes and procedures, that we're working with departments to do so. And also, like I was saying, we partner with our department heads. So we're a resource for the department heads. We offer training, whether that is for their individual departments in how to handle, like last year, we did some training on supervisors and how to handle having hard conversations. Or sometimes we may offer training, and the year before that, we did how to write for the workplace or how to change your writing in an ever-evolving workplace as well. We also help our department heads by helping them with the hiring process. We do all the job postings, and then we filter out applicants for them to make sure that they're spending their best time only looking at qualified candidates rather than having to waste their time that is much needed in their specific department. We also address employee issues, so sometimes there's disagreements, there may be misunderstandings that have happened. So we, like for example, I think last year I dealt with about 25 employee issues, and those can be resolved in whether a single conversation or maybe we have ongoing meetings that have to happen. We also help write the policies for the commission. So what we do is we write them, get drafts, get feedback from our department heads in the legal department, and then we bring them to you all to actually make the decisions on what kind of policies you want to enact. And then we track a lot of data. We track how our employee retention is. We track how long employees have been here. What is our different FMLA, different things that are happening. So we do a lot of data tracking. And lastly, we are a resource for our employees. So one of the biggest things we have is FMLA, which is the Family Medical and Leave Act. It's where our employees who have medical conditions can have their jobs protected and be able to know what their rights and responsibilities are, and the county is committed to that as well. It's an ever-evolving process, so we make sure our employees have that resource. Pay questions. As we all know, our employees are here as public servants, but they're also here to be compensated. So if they ever have questions or whether we need to develop a pay matrix or analyze a new position, that is what our responsibility is. We also do onboarding. While it can sound really simple, it's really important for our employees to feel successful and to know what's going to be expected of them from the moment they apply till they've been here for 10 years. So onboarding is a momentary thing, but also an ongoing. And lastly, one of our biggest things we do is benefit support. So I'm a representative with our various vendors to ensure that we have the best and robust and cost-effective benefits, whether that's through health insurance, medical and dental and vision, as well as other benefits that our employees can have. So that is, in a brief overview, what human resources is that we are a resource for you all. So just some fun facts about what we have done in being a resource. In recruiting-wise, in 2024, we had 36 new hires. So some of these were new positions that came onto the county through the budget process, and sometimes those were replacement. Out of that, we had 572 applicants, over 27 job postings. So as you can tell there's only 27 job postings, 36 new hires. Oftentimes, especially in like our deputy sheriff office or equipment operators, we will hire multiple people from the same job posting. This, just as a fun fact, since we started our ADP process, our applicant pool has increased by about 15%. And that I do believe is because of the increased accessibility that we have now with ADP. So we're getting more people interested, we're getting further exposure, which is great because that means a higher chance to find the right person for the county. Another thing is employee retention. So while HR isn't the sole decision maker or influence in this, often people are looking at their managers for that. We have seen a reduction in our turnover, so we want the lowest number possible is basically what we're looking for. So in 2023, we were at 18%, which as a note was actually down 2% from the year before. And again, we saw a decrease in 2024, where we only had a 15% turnover. So that means that your staff are staying here longer and are happier with their work, which is a big deal because the cost of recruiting and having a vacant position, the national average is about $5,000 at least for having that gap of employment and efficiency. So the longer people stay here, the better that we are for it. And again, like I mentioned, we have 180 employees in the end of 2024. 150 of those were full-time, and then 30 of those were either part-time employees or board members. We do have 2 different boards, so we have about 10 in those. So I'd like to just talk about 2024. We saw this as a period of improvement. So, So the first thing was what occurred in 2024. We had our cost of living adjustment at 3%, per your guys' decision-making in the budget process. We also saw a health insurance increase of 8%, and that we came to that percentage because you all agreed to have a cap in 2025, which, as we found out later, as I'll mention, was a really great decision. We also had performance evaluations move from being at the end of the year, which was overwhelming for our department heads because they all of a sudden had to do 20 performance evaluations during some of the busiest time of the year, which is from middle of November to the middle of December. And instead, we moved that to their employee anniversary date. So that means that every month, a department head probably has 1 or 2 evaluations so we can give a really good focus for that employee. And then one of the biggest things we had in 2024 was obviously the transition to ADP. We transitioned payroll, thanks to the auditor, performance evaluations, time records, recruitment, and employee files, all to our new platform. We're still always tweaking and making that better. We started in March of 24, and we're fully launched with all of the resources we could have by November, and have continued to find all the different ways that we can improve. Some of the other things that occurred last year, we had an increased focus on wellness. I mentioned, and so Joel may remember this, but for the new commissioners, back in 2023, one of our biggest issues that we were finding in our medical claims was use of depression meds, and the idea that that was beating obesity and diabetes and other chronic illnesses for our highest utilization of our insurance. So we decided that we wanted to focus in on wellness overall for our staff, both physical and mental. So one of the ways we did that was starting to offer mental health coaching through Well 365. They've been our wellness partner for a number of years now, and so we've been doing physical coaching, but now we've also added opportunities for mental health, so that way our employees can get skills that they need.
Tracy,
Yeah. Sorry.
has the enrollment in the wellness program resulted in any savings or health improvement? Or
Yes.
do we have any metrics on that?
We do, actually, yes. I actually just met with our wellness team, I think 2 weeks ago, and we saw, so how they measure it is they have a score based off of your BMI, which is based off of your weight and height. They look at your cholesterol, and then any specific health concerns that you may have. And they they take that and they generate a number. So that number is between 1 and 30, and the lower the number, the better, the healthier the team is. So we were in 2023, we were at a 20. Last year, we ended up going down to a 17. So we are seeing incremental changes. Our goal this year is to get down to a 13. So our wellness coach, Jody, is helping our staff really focus on movement. That's one of our biggest things that we can help increase with lower the bad cholesterol and increase the good cholesterol is by movement. So we have some challenges for our staff there, as well as we specifically have been bringing in skills for better eating and healthy cooking. So back in January, we actually had someone come in and teach people about how to make healthy snacks. So we have seen progress with our wellness program, and we've seen an increase of people signing up for it, which is great because that means that they have to complete 6 challenges that are requiring them to learn about wellness or take physical changes during the year for that. So I appreciate that question.
Well, I'm glad Lincoln County is doing its part to make America healthy again.
Exactly, right?
That's a good deal, yeah.
Yes. We've also started to offer mini training sessions for skill improvement, like I said, whether that's for physical health or mental health. It's a 15-minute monthly training so that way our staff can take their 15-minute break and just join that training session. Like I was just mentioning, we have seen increased participation in health insurance and our wellness programming. We do recommend that we do want to see more people involved and enrolled in our health insurance, because the more people we have, the likely is that we're going to have healthier people rather than just those that are sick and going to utilize the insurance to the highest amount. So we have seen an increase, which is great. That also gives us a higher opportunity to negotiate with health insurance companies when we get around to that. So that's been a great progress in '24. And then personally as a department, both myself and my technician, we both received our SHRM, or Society of Human Resources certification, and we were able to participate at the national convention as well as local conferences and training. So it's been great for both of us to make sure that we're brushing up on any skills and training. It does require us to get certain education qualifications every year, so it keeps us as your best human resources team possible. So, 2025 so far. So similarly to 2024, because you guys agreed to cap the health insurance, we saw an 8% increase. It was technically like 7.7%, but we saw an 8% increase due to that multi-year agreement. So again, for those commissioners that weren't here, the underwriting department came back and said if we hadn't had that cap, we probably would have been an 18%. So it was a significant savings by being able to do that. We also saw similarly a cost of living adjustment of 3%. What we continue to anticipate for 2025. So the HR department has been helping departments identify staffing needs for the new courthouse. Obviously, there's a lot of unknown variables, but we're trying to help the departments figure out what staff they would need and create those for their budget process here in a couple of months. We're always looking to improve the ADP experience with more robust performance evaluations, as well as there's tons of training modules on ADP that are just free and available, anything from basic fire safety to slip, trip, and fall prevention to how to have hard conversations. So we're trying to utilize that to the best of our ability. So that way it's something that is already a free tool, so it's best to use what we have. And lastly, we're looking at increasing management training, so with corrective action and work improvement plans to help continue the county's standard of excellence. So that's one area that I'm passionate about, is that like I used to say in my restaurant management days, it's not a bad thing to receive a corrective action. It means that I care about the work you're doing and I want you to do better. So that's one of the things that I've been working on with department heads, and hope that will continue, is that it's not that there's a problem, it's just that we can always do better. So how do we improve that? So 2026, because we're humans, it's always adapting to the ever-changing workforce. Humans are never boring. So what do we need to be successful in 2026? My first thing is during the budget presentation, there will be a request for the HR technician to be classified either as an HR generalist or an HR specialist. The reason for that kind of change is because of the skills and knowledge that are required for that position is necessary. If you were to replace it, would have to be a different classification, because we're expecting more from that position now. As the county has grown, we've added, I think, 30 to 40 new positions over the last 5 to 6 years, and with that means that we need people who are really focused and specialized in what they do. The other big thing that we need for 26 is continued ingenuity and creativity for insurance rates and market level coverage. Now, this is a fancy way of saying next year is going to be rough if we don't take creative solutions. And by rough, what I mean is I had our health insurance company do some basic underwriting. We are way too early to get real numbers because they don't give us real numbers until August. So I said, give me as much of a real number as you can. And they said right now our insurance premium, if we were to do it today, would go up by 17 to 23%. That cost would be 75% of that would go on to the county and 25% 10% of that would go on to our employees. That is a significant jump considering that we've been able to stay pretty stable at 8% over the last couple of years. So we knew that this was likely to be coming. The reason for that is high utilization of our health insurance. Hence why I said it's great for more people to join. So Brown & Brown has been looking at different options. They are our vendor for our health insurance, or our broker rather. And so he's already starting the process to go to market. So that way we can see if there's another health insurance company that would offer us better rates. Looking at offering a medical bridge, which is the idea that there's another insurance that helps to cover some of the costs before it gets actually to a claim by our health insurance. So it could potentially lower our more costly health insurance. Captive, that is where we are part of a larger group of self-insured entities that we create our own group essentially, and thus can negotiate better for health insurance rates. One of the options is to be self-insured, where the county takes on that the full responsibility of our health insurance while having some underwriting for those really large claims. And lastly, Icarus is just another specific brand of health insurance through another health insurance company that we could go with. So rest assured that we already are aware. I've had this conversation since June of last year with our broker because we could see that our utilization was high. So they're going to be bringing proposals here as early as May. Again, it's just that typically August is our beginning of our renewal conversation. So they should have some better numbers for you all by the time budget season comes around. Also, one of the other big things that we have the biggest question on typically is what the COLA or cost of living adjustment will be for the budgetary purposes. Sherry Lund, the auditor, and I had been discussing sort of what we imagined the preliminary would be. Obviously, the decision would be made during budget season, but to be able to put a number in as we prepare the personnel budget. So as we've looked at the cost of CPI presently and what they're projecting out through the rest of the year, as of when I made this presentation, we were sitting at 3.3% CPI, with most projections saying we'll stay between 2.8 and where we are right now. Most of us aren't imagining it's going to get higher. So unless the board ends up advising differently, our plan was to just put 3% in there for that building process, and that way you guys have something to look at when you're making budgetary decisions. And that is my presentation on human resources.
Thank you, Tracy. Does the public have any input on the presentation? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, do you have comments or questions?
I do. Do you know on ADP, what the percentage of employees that are using that for keeping their time?
So time records is 100% in ADP. So all employees have to record their time in there. There is 2 different ways to record their time, whether it's punching in and out or noting the time that they manually noting the time that they came in. Currently, we have 20 employees that punch in and out, and so that would result in another 130 employees recording their time by the time they come in.
Are you looking to increase that number? Because it just seems that as long as we have that and we're paying for that, that employees should be punching in and out through ADP?
So that's probably more like a policy decision that would come down to you all. From a department head perspective, the majority of our employees are expected to work 8 to 5. So when we were looking at the options for time clocks and things, we would have to either install time clocks or have everyone's computer sort of on by the time they got there, because essentially like they would be getting their computer booted up before their time would have started. So one of the departments that does currently use punching in and out is the highway department, because they have their computers are already up and they have iPads that they also punch in and out of as well. So it was when we started the program, it was looking at what department was going to make the most benefit. Part of the reason also for the highway department is because they have all these different shift differentials, so it was gonna make it a whole lot easier rather than trying to track what kind of shift differential they're receiving, just for the system to automatically do that. So there's no increase of cost regardless of which kind of time tracking we use. It's just depending on what the commission and the department wants.
And Commissioner, I seem to recall there was some discussion, maybe this was a year ago, or whenever we went through the ADP transition, about using your phone to clock in and then using a geo fence on the phone, to make sure you're actually in the building or something to that extent. I don't know where those discussions went, but I think you're onto something there and probably deserve some more discussion.
Well, and I know that in the corporate world, when I was there, they would always give you, where I worked, it was like a 6-minute to 7-minute leeway, where you would consider it if you punched in 7 minutes late, it let you, bring up your computer and, allow for that kind of a transition. So I'm wondering can you do that? I'm assuming you can do that in ADP.
Yes, we definitely could have the system set up in that way. And just as a note, we can't require employees to have anything downloaded on their phone just because we could have concerns of reimbursement and things like that. But we can always, just like we currently do, we offer for ease of access for them to be able to do so. So the highway department, many of them do have the app downloaded because it's easier than them getting on the iPad. And that was their decision to make.
And they are also union, which I'm assuming is a different category, like the sheriff's department and our union to go there as well.
Yeah, so that's when I mentioned the shift differentials and all those things. Basically, our different union department, or different unions, which is the highway under AFSCME, and then the FOP with the sheriff's office. They have their own different rules for the times that they come in and different pays for that. So that's one of the other things that came from ADP, is that we could start internally tracking it. So we built it all on the back end, rather than before employees actually had to choose which one they got, which meant that we just had to trust that they were doing the right thing. Or sometimes there's so many different ones, they didn't even know which one to choose. So ADP made it where our unions are a lot more efficient and able to track stuff well.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly too, we had this discussion particularly with regard to the sheriff's department, is it would become redundant for them to clock into two different systems, because if you're depending on what kind of employee you are, if you're one of the deputies, I use this in air quotes, you clock in by calling in on the radio into dispatch, and then they know that you're on the job at that point. And so we may never technically see 100% utilization of ADP, because now they could do that. They could track that internally if they wanted to. That's a question, though, of, okay, who's going to be the button pusher and who's going to push that button, and what's the time consumption going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I do know that those discussions have happened before, and what the sheriff's department decided to do was to continue to use their standard operating procedure, which is they call in on the radio, and that's
Yeah.
how they track their personnel.
I appreciate you bringing that up. They actually did test the punching in and out for about a little over a month, and the amount of time that it took, you were correct, the redundancy was there, so they chose to move forward.
I want to personally thank you, because since January, I've been the HR liaison, and it was a privilege to get to know you, and Godspeed in your new job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy,
Appreciate it.
and we wish you well in the future.
Thank you all very much. Yeah, it's my last presentation with you all, so
Okay.
appreciate all the questions.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Jake, you're the last one up. Welcome. Good morning.
Morning. Jake Oakland, Lincoln County IT Director. I'm here to do my presentation about the IT department. To start off with, we'll kind of go over what the IT department is. And in all reality, the IT department is anything that dealing with technologies, up from the computers to the cameras to the phones to the everything that we do, processing property taxes, processing assessment notices, anything, all of those tools and abilities we manage and oversee and try to help create efficiencies throughout the whole infrastructure that Lincoln County has. I've been here for 13 years now, and it has gone from a very small county to a very large county in a very fast time. So it has been a whirlwind, but it's been exciting at the same time. To give an overview, we're managing all of that. Hardware, software, and technical support. We have cybersecurity and physical security, and we have server, network, and data infrastructures. I kind of ran some approximate numbers on services that we provide. So currently we have about 200 users. Most of those are internal employees, and some of them are external, working with other agencies and allowing access into our systems. We have about 110 servers, roughly 500, I'd say 550 computers and devices, and we help service about 75,000 citizens out there. From the website to paying online property taxes to everything. Every part of every department that we work with, we are in there and helping everybody as much as we can. Our goal is to create a IT infrastructure that is up 24/7, 365, because we also take care of the 911 center, the public safety, everything in between. 2024 in a year in a review. I'd like to start off by saying when I go over our accomplishments in the IT department for this year, next year, and into the future, we work so well with so many different departments, I could be here for hours. So I kind of gonna go over just specifically the IT department's infrastructure and what the IT department covers. I mean, I think John and GIS was here. We were working well with them and trying to upgrade and create a better infrastructure for that department. We've worked with HR and the ADP last year. There's tons and tons of things going on at all times, and if you have any questions, I'm totally willing to answer. Just let me know. But as for the IT department specifically, we started developing and documenting new policies and procedures. That is kind of a requirement that is coming down as cybersecurity is becoming a main focus. We're making more policies in place so that people can understand what the rules are, where they're going to be. We are planning to get those published this year. We kind of developed them and started getting them built, and hopefully those will be done this year. Last year, we upgraded our critical server infrastructure, so all of our production systems have been fully upgraded last year. We did run into a snag where we were going to update the IT infrastructure and our storage server infrastructure and our storage infrastructure. But the storage infrastructure was costing us too much because as the county grows, our storage needs expand way beyond what we can predict. So with that, we did a little bit of switching around, but that's fine, we can keep going. We did enhance some security systems within the building. That's from the panic buttons to security cameras, all the way down to the cybersecurity, firewalls, and everything in between there. We improved the network performance. We also upgraded all of our network infrastructure at this facility, which was great. It was overdue, ready to be done. And we conducted a security audit with DSU, and we had minor corrections that we needed to do from them. In expectations of 2025, as you all know, we started the migration to .gov with the new website layout. That went pretty well, actually. It went well. It's been difficult for employees, and I feel bad for the employees because it's hard to get used to put typing .gov instead of .org, but it seems like everybody's doing well. The next phase of our plan is to upgrade the phone system. We have this phone system here. We currently are working on getting it upgraded. Probably project that within the next month or two. And then in the summertime, we're going to have our storage and data systems upgraded. This will include disaster recovery. It's planning out the future with that new expansion of the building. One thing we're doing in 2025, we kind of kept the weight load lower this year because we are doing our best to get all of our systems ready for the expansion of that new courthouse. With that new courthouse, we have network design that we have to figure out. We have to change our network or disaster recovery in case of a building outage or something happens in this area, and a way to interconnect all of our facilities together. We have now gotten to a point where we used to have little satellite offices, and now we're going to have a really large one down the street. So we got to make sure we get everything connected there and working well for everybody. Also being secure as well. Looking forward for 2026, I am asking for an additional hire for a full-time employee to support our expanding needs. The IT department is in every department, and we are working as efficiently as we can, and we have now reached the point where we do need another full-time person. It took me a while to admit this, because I try to be conservative as much as I can, but the need is there, and we're ready for it, and we're ready to keep making this government of Lincoln County more efficient with technology. With that additional hire, that'll be a great asset for us. The other, moving forward, is the commission has always been really great about budgeting, keeping in line with the budgeting and our upgrades and our every needs that we've had with the IT department. I feel that, I could be wrong, but I feel that the commission understands that the IT is a huge benefit to the county and it can make the county more efficient. Additional funding may be needed for cybersecurity. We have had funds into the past where we have had grant funding. That's to say that South Dakota is using those funds more for counties that truly, truly need this, for the smaller ones that don't have their IT infrastructures fully built yet. So we're kind of working on a way of trying to divvy out those funds, but hopefully we can still have funding through there. But if that doesn't happen, I'd ask for support to get that. And I would ask to make sure that an understanding that there may be a larger increase in the 2027 to 2028 budget due to the new courthouse. Otherwise, they'll try to come up with kind of a mission statement here, but the Lincoln County Information Technology Department is committed to innovation, security, and efficiency. Any questions?
Thank you, Jake. Does the public have any input on the presentation? Okay, seeing none, commissioners, do you have comments or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're doing a good job.
All right, Jake, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation. Okay, now is the time and place for public comment. Is there anybody from the public who would like to address us? Yes, sir. And state your name and your
Thank you.
address.
Okay.
That's kind of the SOP around here.
I'm John Cunningham from 4904 South Oxbow, Sioux Falls. And I'm here, I got a little time limit, okay. I'm here to talk about the prison. The state has told you the reasons that they think they should have a prison. The local people have told you all the problems that that'll bring. But I don't think they've talked about a problem that I'd like to talk to you about, that it's a spectacular failure, a very expensive one. The fact is that a large part of the reason, and maybe the only reason for needing this prison, is because of the drug problems in South Dakota. Pushers, dealers, distributors, and users who commit crimes trying to get drugs. Those things are driving that, and there's really no effort to stop that. The effort that the prison does is to stop the supply, trying to put all the dealers and distributors in jail, and maybe that makes the state a better place to live, work, and do business, but it won't. The fact is that it's an effort in supply-side economics that has never worked. It didn't work with alcohol during Prohibition. You can't stop the supply. I'll say that if the law enforcement agencies in South Dakota were all able to identify, locate, and arrest all of the dealers, distributors, pushers in South Dakota today, this afternoon, by Friday they'd all be replaced. Because the fact is that things are driven by demand, not by supply. As long as there's a demand, there will be a supply. That's Capitalism 101, basic economics. You can't stop the demand, the problem, if you can't stop the demand. With cigarettes, we did that. With anti-smoking programs, we cut the per capita consumption of cigarettes by over 70%, and nobody went to jail. But the problem well, if we spent a third of that money, it's going to cost north of $75 million just in debt service for that thing, and about $50 million to operate it. If we spend a portion of that, $50 million, on treatment, education, and try to make those people recover, we could make South Dakota a better place to live, work, and do business. instead of paying something like $80,000 a year per person in that prison for the debt service and the operation, we could make it a better place to live and work and do business. And so I'll pay attention to my time limit, and I'm
Go ahead and
done.
finish up.
Yeah, we're done. You're the last person, so.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead, sir.
Well, it's I just think that we're constantly trying to do the demand, the supply, limit the supply rather than demand, and nationally, it's going to fail. Instead of addressing our demand for drugs, we're trying to make it Mexico and Canada's problem to stop the supply, and they can't. It's for the same reasons we can't stop it in South Dakota. And as a result, that will fail. It may be good politics. It's not very smart economics, but it's probably good politics. And now I'll tell you the thing that you're facing. The problem is that it's going to cost us north of $80,000 per year per person that the state's going to have to budget until that building is paid off. And even then, it'll need to be renovated. That's a lot of money. That's a tremendous amount of money to house somebody, basically a warehouse. So, but the problem is the public. What you're facing and the state is facing is that the public doesn't want their taxes spent benefiting somebody else, especially bad people. Spending $50 million of taxpayer money on drug addicts to make them, to rehabilitate them and bring them into the economy so they can be productive rather than costing. The public would rather spend $80,000 a year punishing them than they would $40,000 a year to prevent them from being bad people to start with. That's always been a problem, and I think that's the fundamental thing that you're going to face is that the people would rather punish than prevent. And they would spend $10 to punish rather than $1 to prevent. And until that changes, I think the rest of my speech was useless. On an unrelated issue, if I may take some time, pictometry, you currently have pictometry?
Yes.
I was the assessor in Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia, population significantly greater than South Dakota. My staff in the assessment office there had more full-time people than you do. But pictometry was in its infancy then, and it was awesome. That was 25 years ago. I can only imagine what capabilities it has now. It was a tremendous thing. And I'll offer one thing. During my time as the assessor in Prince William County, Virginia, we created the first strategic plan and got a NACO award for that. And became something of a strategic planning expert guru and developed a liking for total quality management, which is big on performance measures. And I'll offer my services to you at no cost if you're interested in updating your strategic plan or having a training session on total quality management. But because I
Thank you.
think that's something that local governments. You're not a huge county, but you're not a podunk county either.
Well,
But those are
Mr.
things that,
Cunningham, thank you.
I'll talk to you. I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you for your comments today.
You're
and
welcome.
coming down
Good
here.
luck. I hope
Appreciate it.
they helped clarify some
Absolutely.
things.
Yes, thank
Oh, any
you.
other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Anybody, do we have anybody else who would like to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the floor to that. Commissioner reports. Any-
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to remind the public that township meetings are held tonight at 7 PM, and you can go on to our public portal and find where your township meeting will be held.
Thank you, Commissioner Otten. Commissioner Putnam, anything? I was going to say the same thing. You've taken care of that for me, so highly encourage people to get involved. Unfortunately, I think this will be the first time in 6 years where I'm not able to attend. I'm flying out here this week to do some Army duty, so, but I highly encourage folks to get involved at the township, with their township board. Just the one thing I would make a comment on is, that's been of note to people here in Lincoln County, is Governor Roden announced his Project Prison Reset executive order. And that affects quite a few people who have been very interested in what's going to happen with prison construction. And I highly encourage people, when they put out, when the meetings will be, for people to attend and participate in that. Do we have a need for executive session today? The answer is no. So with that, I will entertain a voice vote motion for adjournment. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.